There we go.
Boom, we are live. Morning, guys. Welcome to the $7 to $100 million podcast. I'm your host, Tim Warren. I am joined by Danielle Spire, our marketing manager, and Paul DeMott, our CTO. Welcome, guys.
Good morning.
All right, so a couple things I want to talk about this morning. Saw a really interesting video that I thought was like helping me understand how to be thinking about scaling. So been following Hormozi really closely, and Hormozi disciple at this point, right? That's like, what does Hormozi say? Like, follow Hormozi in business. And I've got his books over here. His stuff's super good. Like, his stuff is so good. Recently, so Ryan Deiss from eMarketer, like he ran eMarketer and Clicks and Conversion Summit or whatever. Like he's had some stuff that I've heard of before. I've never been to his stuff, but like I know of him. So he said now that their portfolio of companies, they have 17 companies doing 200 million a year. So it's like similar to Hormozi. I'm like, okay, all right, sweet. So he has a different style than Hormozi. Like, he's a little bit less in your face. He's a little bit less like eat pure protein and like wear muscle shirts and have giant beards. His shtick is different, right? He's more like wear the collared shirt and be a little more professional. He's just kind of your more standard CEO. But here's what he said. And I actually want to show this and like share this. I'm gonna share my screen. But thought this was really helpful. Yeah. Okay. Hopefully it doesn't crash. Let's see. Cool. And all right, can you guys see my screen on YouTube here?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So in this video, he's got this kind of like, this is like a 121-minute video. Basically, what he does.
Can you expand it? It's really tough to see the.
Oh, make it bigger.
Make the bit. Yeah. There we go. Yeah.
All right. So here's what he does. So he has Canva, and this was really helpful for me to see this like laid out this way. But he basically said, in your business, there are only two processes in a company. There's the processes of acquisition. How do you get new clients? Then there's the process of how you fulfill the sale. So there's a acquisition workflow, and there's a fulfillment workflow. Those are the two workflows. So what he laid out is, he said, for your acquisition workflow, it should look like this, where you can say start, right? And then this is the example of like their fulfillment engine, but it's like you start here. So you send the agreement signed, yes, then you go here. No, follow-up resell if needed. Once they're signed, you go here, then this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and all the steps all the way until the thing is fulfilled, or the client contract is built and done and everything's ready and we fulfilled all the work, right? So then so that's like a general principle of like, okay, so there's really two processes in our company: acquisition of new clients, sales, marketing, and then there's fulfillment. So what he did was he zoomed out and he was like, these are the only two workflows you need in the whole company. You don't need 1,000 SOPs. You need these two processes. And he said what a lot of companies do wrong is they hire people and they're like, what people, right? The people like, all right, what does Bob do? Bob can do this and Bob can do that. Okay. And they start with.
That's what he means by systems, basically.
Right. Exactly. Right. So he said, so like a couple things that he's laid out that I think are really good that we need to start doing at Helium. Number one is, he said, most companies start with people. Here's the people we have who can do what. He's like, don't do that. That's the wrong animal. That's the wrong engine. Instead, what you do is you build the workflow. You build the engine. Here's the start. How do we end up with a new paying client? What exactly are all the steps we must take every time that we have to do it this way? And then we have to map that out, and that becomes the actual engine for acquiring new customers. Then what you do is, once the engine is laid out and built, right? So the entrepreneur, the CEO, the founder's job is to figure these engines out and to make them repeatable and then write them down like this, okay? Then what you do is you fill the engine with people. Okay, who does send client agreement? Once agreement signed, who does the purple one? Who does that next one? Who does this next one? And he said, that's how you build a company, is you have these systems, this engine, and then you fill it with people or software that executes all of these steps.
Mhm.
And that's the only people that you need. Those are the only people that you need, is the people to execute these steps. And then as you scale, it's just simply, this is it's our flow. It's being run properly. Cool. Who owns it, right? So and this is fulfillment. It might all ladder up to Sean, but this is done by Shauna, and that one's done by Eric, and this one's done by Matt Nickel. But it all ladders up to like a middle manager, right? So who's responsible for it, but who actually executes it?
This would be a great way, by the way, to visualize the workflow for the new packages.
Exactly.
Mm.
That's exactly what we should do.
Yeah.
Because I've been thinking about like the best way to do that, and I do like this kind of like decision tree 40,000 foot view of it,
Yes.
like as a starting place, and
Right.
then like obviously you go like you can build upon each of these like with more detail, but this kind of shows like the whole system, how it's supposed to work.
Right, exactly. And so first, without thinking about people and how we execute it, we write this down. And so he's using Whimsical is the actual like tool he's using. I think you could do Canva, but Whimsical is fine too.
You can do. I mean, actually, like I generated one of these for the sales team at one point with ChatGPT. Like ChatGPT is really good at these visuals. Yeah.
Yeah. So however we do it doesn't really matter. But Paul, you're exactly right. We should do this. Let's make that a to-do item for the new packages.
Yeah.
And then like, how are we going to exactly execute from thing is signed to it's ongoing and the client is fulfilled and happy? What are all the steps we have to take? And then to make them profitable, let's fill as many of the bubbles as we can with software and automation, and not just human being time, because that will drive down profitability.
Yep.
Right. It'll also give us a very clear workflow. So if something breaks, right, like the ads person's like, oh, they wanted this and this thing, it's not in here. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
This is kind of the similar. I think like I view this as somewhat of a similar idea to what why Hormozi preaches, like standardization of your sales script.
Yes.
Because like what you don't want is everybody doing something their own way.
Right.
And because if that's the case, if you want to make an improvement to the process, it's nearly impossible, because
right,
you have to like retrain everybody on one step that they may or may not already do.
Right.
So I do like, this is like a operational equivalency of that.
Right. Exactly. And then the other thing too is looking at this, it's like, oh, okay, so this is exactly what we need to do in detail. And then we'll talk about in a little more in a second here, but this is the fulfillment. The fulfillment's all in one place. So it's really easy to see. So it's like, oh, okay. Then if stuff breaks and there's issues, we don't have to like look at the whole thing. We just look at what is the exact issue here. Oh, well, the client doesn't like the Loom videos. They ask for a meeting. Okay, well, what happens then? Oh, it goes over here, and then this thing happens.
Yeah, well, I like this because like as we're trying to do in the first couple, we can like we'll probably build off like more conditional branches and stuff. Stuff we'll try to anticipate as much of it as possible up front. But then as we're going, it's like, okay, well, if we want this to be repeatable, let's go in and adjust it for this new case that we just like encountered.
Right. So it's basically here was my couple takeaways with this. Number one, your business is actually pretty simple. It's not hiring people and then people go like do work. It's starting by building systems. What is the system we're going to execute on? How do we know it's going to work? Have we tested it? Have we proven it? Okay, this does work. Does it work repeatedly? Yes, it does work repeatedly. Great. Now we're ready to start hiring people to execute this system. So one thing Ryan Deiss says is he says that bad systems break good people, right?
Yeah.
So he's like, you can hire A players, and if you give them no system, they won't know what to do. So they're going to try to figure stuff out. That doesn't work, because then now you're hiring people to figure out systems, which is a whole different skill set. And then number two is he said, if you have crappy systems, great, you put good people in there, it'll break those good people because the system is broken. That's the digging the swimming pool with a spoon, right? You can have a great worker, smart, talented A player. You give them a terrible tool set and they're still going to fail. So with this, Paul, what I love about this model is this allows us to think system first, then people to do the system, and how few people do we need to do the system that'll be more profitable, but what has to get done always and in what order. This is the operation stuff. So Blake could probably really help us with this. Like we should probably bring Blake in to help us create these.
Yeah, because I think there's like the new packages, but there's like this would also be a really good exercise for existing clients. Can we
Yes.
improve there as well?
Yes. And the other place that we need it is you need it in a fulfillment engine, you need it in a sales acquisition engine, which is something. So historically, like, why has our company been stuck at 7-8 million for 2 years? Because we didn't have this written down for acquisition to then see, oh, we don't have actually all of this. We don't have a super clear program where it's like, we make these cold calls, but some people answer, some people don't. Does it drive enough leads? It doesn't drive enough leads to actually grow the business. Oh, so this system doesn't work.
Yeah,
This
like when you have
engine
it, when you have the
doesn't work.
steps written out, then you can like pinpoint where's the actual flaw, and then you know where to fit. So actually,
Right.
to the whole constraints issue, or sorry, the whole like theory of constraints and how you actually fix an issue, like a prerequisite for that is actually having visibility into
Right.
the different stages. Like you can't see a bottleneck if you don't have clarity on the system.
Right. And also as I thought about it, it's like, oh, well, how do we scale our client acquisition? Well, we write it down like this from step 1, step 2, step 3, all the steps. Then it allows us to hire effectively, train effectively, know what everything is that has to get done. How do we automate as much as we can? But what is the MVP? What's the minimum viable product actually to get a totally cold person in and turn them into a buying customer from Helium, right? And when we map it out like that, instead of it being, well, we get leads in and Tim's really good at closing leads, we don't really exactly know what he does differently, right? That doesn't scale. We have it mapped out where it's like, oh, here's actually the exact steps you must take in the order you must take them in, and how we can do it repeatably, right? Not, we got some good referrals, we got lucky, we had a good month, but this is what we're going to need to do on a super consistent basis that works every time. When we put money in the front end, we get clients out the back end. And so this is why we have failed to scale marketing and sales. We don't actually have this mapped out. So we need to do this as well. So Danielle, here's my ask. If you can get with Blake, right?
Yeah.
Bring her in. Let's map this out for our acquisition. Let's map this thing out so that we can have, okay, if this was start, so imagine this is start, like, start selling, right? What happens next? And then what happens? And then what happens? And then what happens? And then what happens? And what happens, right? Because if we think about our current process and what we're doing, it is start, okay, build ad. Someone has to create ads, right? Here's video ads, here's static ads for Meta and for Google. We spell that out. Okay, what exactly is that bucket? Let's make them really specific. Then it would be, and this is the kind of stuff I'm asking, like, who actually does that bucket full time? Like who owns that? Like, do we outsource that? Do we use AI? Do we do that? But then it's there. So create creative, create ads. Run the ads on the platform. Someone has to actually build and run the ads, right? Then the ads go to a lead magnet page, or they go to a webinar page. So Paul, this is what we were talking about. That's when we can be testing. Okay, we have the creative, we have the ad is running, it runs to a lead magnet page. Oh, we have this other A/B testing variant we're doing now, which is it runs to a webinar page, and we're going to test a webinar, and then here's going to be the webinar workflow, right? So maybe we create a different one of these for a webinar sale, right? And so what we do first here is we map it out all the way through. So we have it, we're doing it today, but it's not written down anywhere. And it's not written down so well that we could replicate it and give it to a new person and say, here, this is exactly what we're doing, right? And then we can look at the process. So if I looked at ours today, it's like, right, from start, it's we like ideating the ICP persona, creating the creative, the static and the video ads, and Google whatever. We'll say those are Google ads too. Actually building the ad campaigns on the platforms, running the ads to lead magnets, building the lead magnet pages, from lead magnets, getting the conversions and letting people book leads. Then once they hit HubSpot, right, how we work the leads in HubSpot and the setters and the SDRs and all the stuff we're talking to Nicole about and all the stuff we're working on there, right? Then it's booked meeting, discovery call. Then it's proposal meeting. Then it's, pushing for close. Then it is sign, close, sign contract, kickoff, payment, billing, whatever. Like we map the whole thing out. And then the final end is client kickoff call or something. Let's say that's the official handoff. Okay. So we actually have processes, but we don't have them written down and we don't have them in a flow chart like this. So we could literally give it to a new sales manager and say, here is our process. This is exactly what we do, right? Don't change the process. Just execute on this process. This is your part. And then the purple ones that he has in here, okay? He said what you do with the purple ones is you discuss, you as you roll this out, you look at which ones are the power steps, meaning these are the steps that are the most critical. You cannot screw them up. You have to nail these steps.
I like that. Like
so they're like super important, right? Where it's like this one, it's like agreement signed, follow up, resell if needed. That's good, but creating client dashboard in Canvas is so much more important that like this one should get way more time and energy because these are massive levers of success versus like this is important, but it's not as important as these, right? In our business, it's like, what's really the most important? And we're trying to figure this out. Is it just how many ads we buy, just how much we spend, or is it creative? Is our creative quality really an important lever? Is it not? Do we find out that as long as the videos are good enough, it just comes down to spend. It's literally just spend more people see the ad. The ads are good enough, they work and they bring people in. Okay. Maybe we find out it really is creative quality. And then that becomes a purple one where that gets more time, more attention, more focus, more money, higher level expertise, more talent, right? So that's how you build these. So I wanted to show this today because I think this is something we aren't doing that we should be doing. And I think, Paul, this is why we haven't been scaling, is because we don't have an acquisition system really mapped from A to Z that we know works in a repeatable fashion, that we know exactly what it needs to do. And then if we want the engine to do more, we put more gas into it, right? We just put more through the more throughput.
I think also, this type of mapping is really important to profitability. Because when you're hiring people to solve problems, you end up spending a lot more money than when you have a system to solve the same problem.
Yes, exactly. Because we might figure out like, Paul can do this, and this. Danielle does this, and this. And we don't actually need 4 more people. We only need like 3 of us to actually do this. With a little bit of technology, we can do it with 3 people. That's way more profitable. Yeah, that's because we mapped it all out, right? So the idea here is basically treating every business like a manufacturing company. And this theory of constraints actually comes from the manufacturing world.
Right.
And it's this idea of like, you have 3 machines in a row. This machine like smelts the tin. This machine like shapes the tin. And this machine like carves all the stuff into it. Oh, this machine takes 3 times as long as these machines. Oh, that's going to be our constraint. That's going to slow down the assembly line. Why don't we buy 3 of those machines? Well, it's $1 million. Yeah, but then you can do the math. What's the throughput that it would change? How much would this increase the throughput? How much could we sell? And then you do the math. So we can see the constraints, right? So this is what we need to do for advertising, marketing, sales. We need to write this thing out. And then, Paul, our goal as founders should be to make sure the system that we have built actually works really consistently when we put new money in, right? Like that's our job, is to really make sure the system is good. It works. We put dollars in and it generates new clients out the back end. And then of course there's training and coaching and all that stuff too. But it's this, right? I think in the past it's been like, let's take sales motion and hope that it works. And that's not a business strategy. It has to be this. It has to be clearly outlined exactly how we're going to get new clients. Then once we have the throughput of this thing as maxed out as we can, like more, make it better, then it's more, better, new. That's when I think
more, better, new is really easy to work on with this. It's like a lot more straightforward. Yeah. Because I think we were talking about it yesterday. It's like, it's not always obvious how to implement constraint theory or more better new, because there are like sometimes competing constraints that seem like equally important, like, but I do think mapping it out visually makes it easier to diagnose. Like you're like, okay, well, this is the point where the problem actually exists.
Right. Right. Exactly. The other thing with that too is like, remember you messaged me yesterday and said, hey, here's these other acquisition channel ideas. I think they're good ideas. But I think what Hormozy is saying, and what Ryan's saying here as well too, and I think it's smart, is let's do one at a time and really maximize each factory and get it really humming before you build the next factory.
Yep.
Right? So like if this was if this is, let's say, our ads acquisition channel, right? Let's get all the steps and map it all out and get it really right and run a bunch of like gas through this engine and really see that this thing is humming and as profitable as it can be. Like, this is really well optimized, right? Then it's like, okay, what's the next channel we want to add? Oh, we want to do in-person meetings, like dinners. Like, let's use the dinner example. Let's take potential buyers to Michelin star restaurants in their cities. Okay, that's an interesting acquisition channel. Well, then what we start with is, his advice is, start with the expert, not with a helper. So then we wouldn't hire a lower level employee and say, hey, go figure this out. We would hire an expert who's, oh, I've actually been running the teams that does that for these other companies. Fantastic. How much is it going to cost to come work here? 200 grand. Great. You're hired. Now come in and build this for us. But they already know it. So like in the interview, it's asking them this: tell me from start to end what the flow chart is. Like, show me the flow chart. Draw it out for me. Do you have it actually to show? So then the right hire has the flow chart, who says, yep, these are the kind of reps we hire. This is, we make these phone calls, then we book this thing, then you book the restaurant, then you invite the people, you send this follow-up, you fly out there, you go do the thing, this is how much you pay for it, this is how many people then sign up, then you go to the proposal meeting, then you do this, and then blah, 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 and then this is how you close. Fantastic. Go build it, right? And then you have the expert who builds it, and so now you have this manufacturing channel running, but then you start a new one. Right? And the new one doesn't get all jammed up in the existing one. It's a totally separate workflow. It's a totally separate channel run by a totally separate person. So they're like, they don't mess with each other, right? They're done separately. That's why Hormozy says not to start new acquisition channels until you've mastered one, is because you'll screw up both of them because they aren't actually ready to run on their own.
Yep. No, I totally agree with that. Yeah. And this, I think I like too that this sort of gives us like a final destination that we're striving towards. Like it never like, you never stop improving the system, but you kind of can get to a place where you're like, okay, well, we have this whole process documented. As founders, we could now theoretically move and pass this to somebody else to work on like the more better iterations of it. But when it sort of just exists internally in our heads, it's very hard to pass to somebody else to let them like kind of do those iterations on. So,
yep.
Yeah, so, I do really like this. So is his video go through like his whole process with this, like how he also trained? Like let's say it's like complete, and you're like, I feel pretty confident in this like 40,000 foot view of this process.
Yeah.
Does he then talk about like, okay, here's the training process, like bring someone in, how they take over it?
That's a good question. I don't know. I've not finished the whole video and like the whole step, but he might talk about that. Yes. I do know what he said is you build this process first, you build the system, and then you hire the people to who does what. So I'm going to then assume, like Hormozy said, which I think Hormozy takes advice from Ryan. I think Ryan was one of the guys that Hormozy like learned from. I think the model becomes, this is all clearly, but you see how they have like these, just as playbook, see playbook, see playbook, see playbook. So those purple ones are the like critical power steps, and each of those has a super defined playbook of exactly how to do it and how to execute on it. So I think what he says to do is only create playbooks for the power steps that really matter. The other ones don't need playbooks. It's a lot of extra work that you don't need to do because they're not important enough to have playbooks. Like they're simple enough to train on, and they don't need playbooks. So
Yeah, you don't want to overcomplicate. Like you could easily like make like a visual like this that's like 10,000 steps. Like
right, which you don't want. You don't
Yeah.
want. So Hormozy said that when you're training a new employee, your playbook for their job should be so good that they can literally pull up the playbook, do every single step exactly as it's written, and get the same result as you. That's how good the playbook should be.
Mhm.
So if I had to reconcile both of those things in my brain, Paul, what is standing out to me of what you would do is there's first you have, so like let's take exactly what we're doing with our marketing. Okay.
Mhm.
You, me, and Danielle are all three kind of jumping in a lot of random places and like building ads, and then I'm like shooting ads, and then Danielle's sending them to Gerardo to edit the ads, and then they're getting put up, and then you're putting things in, and you're building, and like all three of us are handling all kinds of just different stuff that needs to get done. Then leads are getting created. Then Nicole's over here with the SDR. So we have all these people, and like people are doing their roles, right? But it's kind of it's like not written down anywhere right now. There's no clear playbook. So if we were to hire a sales manager today, I would have to just explain everything to him. There's no thing written down, right? I wouldn't have anything to give him or her and be like, here you go, see this. Here's these playbooks. It all lives in our head, and that's the problem. So it's not replicatable. Then we would say, okay, who does these roles? How would we train them, and what do they need to know to do this job effectively? And I think that becomes the playbook, right? So someone has to figure that out and run that playbook. The good news for us is we have a lot of that already, right? So like if we were going to hire somebody to just run HubSpot, right? Like let's just use that as an example. I mean, Danielle, you know enough of it now. You have a clear, you know exactly what to do. You could probably create a playbook of do this, then this, then this, then this, then this, then this, then this. That's what you need to do to run our HubSpot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just it's writing that down in specific order, and then that becomes the training manual.
Yeah.
So Paul, I think that's how you do it. It's simply that. It's starting with this, then you create the playbooks for those important roles, then you hire for them, and that's how you actually scale effectively, because the people that are hired and trained are trained very effectively within this engine.
Yep, that makes sense.
But yeah, it's a good question. I'll probably need to finish watching the whole video.
Yeah, I want to watch it too. But yeah, this is great. Great info. Yeah. I think we need to build this out we should start with the new packages. Then I think we need to do this for our existing processes as well to make them more efficient. This is where I think Blake would be really valuable, because we should try to map it how we do it today. And then maybe too, like when we do that, when you and I look over it, it's like more obvious to us where we could make improvements or changes.
Right.
You know, that's probably more Sean right now doing, but I can at least look at that from an SEO standpoint, because we could drive a lot more efficiency, I think, on what we're doing today for clients as well.
Right. The other thing too is on the acquisition side, right? So for us to be able to create a scalable business that we don't like, we want to have a scalable business that doesn't need us working in the business. Right now, the more roles that we actually fill for the business, the less scalable it is. Right. The more valuable you are to the business, the less valuable the business is.
Yeah. And if we're working in the business, we're actually not working on this type of stuff.
Correct.
This is actually the highest leverage stuff that we could possibly do.
Exactly. 100%. And so, but you can't just exit the working in the business and quickly work on this stuff. If you are working in the business and filling crucial roles, things will break. So this is what I want to chat about next. How do we get from where we are today, like I'm managing sales, you're running Facebook ads, to where we want to go, which is 20 million in revenue, where I'm not managing sales and you're not actually building the Facebook ads? What we need to do next is we need to map out our current acquisition channel. And let's keep that marketing goal of let's sell 20 ignites or altitudes per month. That's the goal, right? In our current system, let's draw this out into a flow chart exactly like this. What do we exactly do today? Not future state, what we should do. What are we exactly doing today from the time that we run an ad to the time that we get a new signed contract. So we had 11 new clients signed last month. What exactly did we do? What were the exact steps? Okay. So it's like, oh, came in via referral. Great. What is that? If someone comes in via referral, so we can have multiple starting points where it's like comes in cold traffic, comes in warm, whatever, comes in via referral. Great. Where do they all go? What happens to them? What are all the steps? So let's map it all out, right? Then let's look at what are the power steps. Then those need playbooks. Those need very clearly written down playbooks of exactly what we must do at exactly what time, steps, process, all that stuff. Then we would be ready to start hiring people to replace us in those purple ones that we're sitting in now, right? So for me, managing sales, for you, actually running the ads. But because we know what the step is and what it takes, we would then know how to find the expert, not the helper, right? So the mistake, Paul, would be like if you were like, all right, let me just hire like a entry-level guy and teach him how to run the Facebook ads like I'm doing. That would be a mistake. Mm-hmm. The right thing to do is say, here's the system we've created. What expert can I bring in who knows it even better than me and could help take the results even higher within our current system, right? Who's not going to come in and blow it up and say, well, no, we're not going to do Meta. We're going to do like TikTok. We're like, oh, why? Right? Like, no, that's not what I want, right? Like I want this engine, but I want a Meta expert who knows even more than me, who's even better than me at ads, right?
Yep.
Who's going to then come in and execute these 3 squares or whatever. On the sales management side, it'd be the same thing, right? Here's the playbook. Here's what we need. Let's go hire the sales manager now who's better at managing than me. We hire 1 to hire 10. We get the expert who comes in who's like, I'm a better manager than you. Great. Fantastic. Love that. Replace me. And then that person is like ready to hire more sales reps, train, coach, and deliver on the system, right? Yeah, that is what we need to do next.
Yep.
Then there's no longer in my mind the question of like, okay, when are we creating content? Who's creating content? Like how much content should we create? Which content should we create? How much should we spend on ads? We fill those squares with experts, right? And we have playbooks. So then we know exactly what to do, when to do it, who's handling that, and those roles get filled. Then the channel, like when the roles get filled, then we have a more scalable system where one person's not doing everything, right? Unless that's possible, but probably not. And we have experts in all the roles, which then takes our performance level way up, right? So like, I don't know creative that well. Let's get somebody in who really knows creative to sit in that bucket, and they make our creative way better, right? Let's get the person who really knows Facebook way better, and they take that off your plate. Let's get the person who knows sales management way better. And then we're replacing ourselves with true experts, and the business, the engine performs even better. That's how we grow.
Yep. No, I agree with that completely.
Yeah. So this is our next step. Danielle, can you get with Blake and let's, from like today, just what we have today, can we map out like exactly like this?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I have a meeting scheduled with her tomorrow to go over some things, so I can add this to that. I'm also gonna have her. I'm gonna ask her to watch this episode too, so that way she can already be prepped for what you talked about. And then also, yeah, can you send me and Paul this direct video link as well?
I will. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious too with Whimsical if that's like the right software to use too. Because like what would be good is like a good organization of all of these. So like, let's say you want to but we shouldn't have everybody doing like different flow charts stored in different places. Like
no,
it should be really clear and like everything should be linkable. So like you can kind of see what he's doing here, but he's like on Create Client Dashboard, see playbook. You probably click on that and then it takes you to a playbook for that. So Whimsical, like it's actually helpful to see the software he's using, because it probably, if he's using it, it probably fits his business. So we should probably just use that as well.
I completely agree with that. Like, why reinvent the wheel?
Yeah, I mean, it's only like $10 a month also. So
yeah, let's just get Whimsical then.
Yeah.
But also, so in the video, he zooms out and he has all of them in one place. So it's like, here's his company, and it's like, here's his fulfillment, here's his acquisition engine, here's his fulfillment engine, here's this one. They're all in one spot. So you can zoom out and be like, oh, here's the whole company in one sheet. It's really nice. And it really allows you to zoom out and be like, oh, here's the whole business and how it works, right? And then if you're like, cool, here's an acquisition channel. let's create a new one. You can copy paste second acquisition channel and you change things, but there's stuff that's still going to be the same, right? The kickoff, the workflows, the whatever, like there's stuff that's still going to be the exact same. Yeah, so I agree, Paul. Like, let's just get whimsical. Let's use the same software. Like, why reinvent it? Like, who cares about the $10? Yeah. But let's do this. So I think this will be our next step, and then Paul, for you and me, and Danielle, I guess for all three of us, what we need to be doing is, let's first map out what we're doing today, because what we are doing is working. We're still figuring some stuff out, and that's okay, right? But let's continue to work towards this idea. First, we write it down, and then work towards how well do we know this? How well have we proven this, refined this? Like, do we know this works? If we gave this to somebody else, would it truly work? Is it refined enough, right? Do we have enough data? Have we run enough throughput through this? Paul, this is another reason I'm a big fan of, like, let's just spend way more on ads, way more quickly, because the faster we run gas through this system and we see what explodes, breaks, leaks, right? We'll be able to refine the system faster, right? Because we'll have faster throughput.
Yeah, and actually, I was like, an analogy that I liked that Charlie was using actually when he was explaining this is he's like, imagine you have a pipe that has a leak in it. Like when you flow water through like really slowly, you often can't detect the leak,
right?
But you have to like pressurize the pipes and like really push the water through for the water to like shoot out of the leak and find it. And so he's like, that's the same idea with ads, is you got to put pressure on your whole sales system to find the problems. Like they can hide when stuff's too slow.
Right. And like, so take the SDR stuff we were talking about yesterday, right?
Yeah.
The right answer, if we have too low of flow, we might be like, we have to make more money from these lower end leads. Therefore, we got to create a low end product to sell them, the under $500. We're spending $20,000 a month on those leads, but we can't really sell them anything. And right, that, and which is probably the wrong move, right? Versus, well, hold on, what if we just tripled the throughput? Well, we would triple our higher level leads too. Okay, well, if we did that, how many of those would be closed? Well, we closed 60% of those. Well, how much profit would that generate? Enough to pay back all of the leads, including the low end ones. Well, let's just do that. That's simpler. That's a simpler, easier execution, and it still solves the same problem, but it's simpler. Yep. So it's this idea too with constraint theory of how do we build the engine to be as simple as it can be without being any simpler, right? Like that's perfection. I think Einstein said like the best engine is one that is as simple as it can be without being too simple, without being any more complex. So like a mousetrap is perfect. The mousetrap is the simplest it can possibly be, which is it's been perfected, right? Yeah. So we want to do the same with our processes here. We don't want them. We want them to do as little complexity as possible, so they're as easy to execute as possible. There's like no brownie points given for complexity. In fact, complexity is worse. We want it to be as simple as we possibly can, and then we want to run a lot of gas through it to make sure that we actually understand what breaks and what leaks. And then we really maximize it before we go to new acquisition channels.
Yeah, right? I think that's a really important takeaway. I just think like for whatever reason, entrepreneurs are always so attracted to like a different new approach for things. And it's like you gotta commit to one, get it working before you move on. And sometimes you do like have to switch, like what you're doing isn't working.
Right.
That's a tricky balance because sometimes like you're mining for gold and you give up right before you hit gold, but then other times people have been mining this hole for like years and they're really far away. There's like no gold there, and so the better thing to do is to stop mining. It's just one of the hardest parts of business is when do you stop and like try something different? When do you keep going because you're really close? It's not and that's like, I think business wisdom and intuition that's developed over time too.
Hormozi talks about that in his book. Like you have to pick the right market. Like if you're trying to sell to newspapers right now, like your business is going to fail because newspapers are dying by 25% every year. So if your business doesn't grow by 25% a year, just to be flat, you're going to be shrinking because the industry is shrinking like crazy. But if you don't really know what you're doing and you're selling peptides and peptides are growing by 600% a year, you can be a pretty crappy operator and probably still make money because everybody wants peptides right now. So I think there's the general business wisdom of like, When you should pivot is when you have a dumb idea, like when the idea is not good and you're getting a lot of feedback that the idea is not good or the product is not good, like what you're trying to execute is not good. I think where
I'd say you do have cases where people got constant rejection and they were like persistent and people kept telling them their ideas were dumb, and then turns out they built something totally so it's you know, it's that it's probably a good sign if you're getting bad feedback to stop doing. But sometimes people like know that everyone else is wrong somehow.
Yeah, I think those are more rare. Like that's probably the Elon Musks and the Henry Fords, but those are like brilliant visionaries that are very rare, right? Yeah. So those people are much more rare than they are common. The other thing too is here's my like going back to the takeaway. People buy the same things. So there's really only so many like things people need, right? There's products that help your health. There's products that help your relationships. There's products that help your wealth. And everything kind of falls into several buckets and categories. And so like, does your product save them time? Does it make them money? Does it help them with relationships? Does it help them with their health? Right. And it falls into one of those categories. And if it's something that people never spend money on, they probably won't spend money on it with you. Right. So I think this is like theoretical, so I don't think we need to go too far down this path. But in our business, we are selling something that people have wanted for a very long time. They're going to continue to want, which is, I want more sales, I want more leads, but I don't want to figure out like ads and SEO and all this stuff on my own. It's hard and complicated. I don't want to do it. I want to pay someone to do it. Help me, right? That's not going to go away. And that's why I like this business, is because it's reoccurring revenue and it's a pain that's never going to go away, because we're doing this for ourselves, but it's challenging. Like there's a lot of work here. And there's people who are like, I want to skip all this and just hire Helium to do this for me. Okay, we can do that for you, right? Like we'll do all those, like we'll literally take this whole beginning part of the engine just off your plate and do that for you. Like, yeah, that sounds great. So that's not going to go anywhere, in my opinion. Like AI is not going to replace that. You know, automation is not going to replace that. Like that stuff's still going to exist. And maybe it replaces it at a small percentage or whatever, but then AI now becomes its own thing that needs to now be optimized for. So I think at the end of the day, Paul, like you have to be in an industry that's growing with a product people still want. If you don't have that, that's I think why businesses fail. The other thing is the offer and the product. Like a lot of entrepreneurs build products that aren't very good, right? They just aren't that good. They don't really solve a problem, or they're like a crappier HubSpot. It's like, I'll just buy HubSpot, right?
Yeah. So I think there's also like there's good products that people just don't have budget for. So they like, you go pitch it and they're like, well, I don't really have budget to invest in something experimental. Like it could be great, but like might not be. That dooms a lot of businesses as well.
That's why I like Robert Kiyosaki's like idea, where he basically said, like, open up your credit card statement and look at all the stuff you currently spend money on, and then ask yourself, could I do that one of these things better, faster, or cheaper than what I'm currently buying? And he's like, if you can, that's a business, because people are already spending money on it. So if you can do it better, faster, or cheaper, you'll have a business immediately. And he said those are better companies to start. They have a higher chance of success because people already spend money on it. Right. Versus I'm going to create something that people don't spend money on today. That's changing customer behavior, and that's hard. And I think it's possible. Like P&G's done that with like, people didn't care about white teeth, and then they were like, you need to have white teeth, and they're like, I do. And then there's Crest White Strips, and it becomes this big product. But they had to spend a gajillion dollars on marketing to make people self-conscious about their teeth color, right? They had to spend a gajillion dollars on marketing to make people self-conscious about not having a
point in time where people didn't mind if their teeth were yellow.
It was probably a fashion statement in the 1400s. It's like, she has yellow teeth from drinking so much wine.
Yeah, you just like sit there with a cup of coffee in your mouth for like hours to like yellow your teeth.
Probably. Dude,
or cigarettes. Maybe that's like cigarette. I mean, cigarettes are probably like the fastest way to make your teeth yellow.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So it's like, oh, you could afford to constantly smoke because you had all that money. Like, it's a sign of beauty,
Yeah.
Who knows? But Crest created white strips, and like that was not a thing that people needed, and then they created a pain. So it's possible to invent things like that. I mean, Anthropic AI is a good example of that. Like, people didn't need ChatGPT until it got invented, and they're like, okay, I desperately need this now. So that has happened some, but
yeah, but it's rare. Yeah,
it's harder. It's harder to do, right? All right, cool. All right, so we have takeaways here. So Danielle, let's get with Blake, and let's within 7 days, let's get this mapped out. Ours is already there, so like let's not take forever to do this. Like, let's do it within a week, and let's map ours out. Let's just get whimsical. Let's put us all in here, and then I think let's do it for the new products. I 100% agree, and that's what our focus is going to be: selling these new packages. And let's do it for our acquisition team, like our acquisition system, and then we can get it all mapped out. It's like, cool, this is what we're actually doing. We can start creating playbooks. Now we're getting closer to being able to bring in the talent we need to replace the stuff that we're doing because we're sitting in too many roles, right? And this is how we're going to move from working in the business to actual true C levels where we're just working on the business and we are overseeing the systems and the team, not actually working in any of the bubbles.
Yep. Let's do it.
So that's I'll
work on for Meta too, and I think for the new packages, this is going to be really important. I think to get buy-in from the team that's going to execute too, so they can see like the vision. Because like right now, I think if you're like, okay, how am I going to do these packages? I mean, like, the sky's the limit. Like but if we can define it, it's going to make it easier for people to like understand this new package as well.
Yep.
So, all right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So so the takeaway for me, and this is what I was thinking about yesterday as I was watching this and like processing through it, is first, you got to build the workflow. You start by building the workflow engine. What am I trying to accomplish? Where am I going to go? How's this going to work? You have to process through and build the engine before you talk to any new humans, right? Build the engine first, write it all down, test the engine, refine it, get all the systems, then fill it with people, right? It's the exact opposite way that we are doing it, like, and how most businesses do it, he said, is people start with the people and then they try to create the system around the people. And he's like, don't do that. That is the worst way to do it. And I think he's totally right. So let's fix that in our business. The good news is what we're doing is working. And then Paul, this puts voice to what we've already kind of figured out, I think, which is like, let's just get more throughput. Let's just start sending more and more and more through this thing. That's what's going to help us really test it. And then we can use this goal of selling 20 packages a month as that's the whole purpose. Like, that's what we want to accomplish right now with the process. So what does the flow chart need to look like to get that objective?
Yeah. I think you need an output like goal to really refine a system.
100%. Right. So. All right, guys, this has been great. I got to jump to a meeting. But yeah, Danielle, if you could also send this episode to the whole company and just say like, here's this video, here's this process. This is what we need to start implementing at Helium is this type of playbook. Here's whimsical. Like, let's map all these out, but in priority order, let's do our acquisition channel, our new packages, then everything else. Those can come later because we're already executing on those. And there's less value in mapping all of that out than there is in the new packages.
Right.
Because even this morning, I sent a message to Sean and Ryan Glum. Is like, hey, let's sync on these new programs and really make sure that we execute them properly. We know who we need to have. We have the right people, because if we sell 20 of these a month, you can't have just one guy because you can't kick off 5 new clients a month or a week. That's not going to be feasible. So what's the system going to have to look like? Also, we can't lean in. We aren't going to do things the other way, so we can't cross-pollinate these in the team. So we got to have a really clear system. So I think this is actually really good. We should have this whimsical built out. This is the exact thing, so that it doesn't get messed up, right? It doesn't get thrown in with all the other clients, and all of a sudden we're unprofitable in these things, and it's broken, right? So this is going to be really important we do that.
Yep. Got it.
Cool. All right, guys. See you on the next one.
See you guys.
See ya.